My Time Podcast with Asher Tchoua.
Got you. So catch me up. What happened in 2020? I remember last time I saw you, we were at the Extreme Branding conference, and
Was it that long ago?
yeah, and then I
Wow.
I kind of just backed away. But I think then you were looking at kind of getting your I don't know if you were looking to rebrand or you were maybe looking for building your team.
So when did we do the first episode? Do you remember?
I want to say that was 20. I want to say it was 2019 because I know I recorded a whole bunch in 2019, like towards the end of the year. So it must
Okay.
have been like December or November, something like that. And
Okay.
then I met you there. We did like the little promo clip, and
Got you. Got you. Okay.
yeah,
Oh, wow, yeah, that was a long time ago now,
right.
actually.
Because and then I guess as you quickly told me, it's like, hey, you can't just be grabbing people's
Oh,
people's social
random
media,
pictures.
yeah, random pictures and just posting them. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just working my way through it.
Yeah, I
And I
do
was
remember
like,
now. I do remember. I'm like, why? I'm like, out of all the pictures, why would Ashley choose
right.
that one?
Well, it's
Okay.
because like I was trying to, because like, what do we learn from the brand prep thing? Is like you want to identify your target audience, identify what it is that you do. And I think like in IG, that's the one thing that I'm focusing on this year and getting back to the podcast and touching base with yourself and other guests to see like what what happened in 2020, kind of like what happened last time since we spoke, but also um kind of not trying to pick up so much because back then I had just I just went to the extreme execution thing. So that was like the second thing I just picked up. And doing the brand prep, I intended it to be for the podcast. But then I was like, well, however I learn to apply the brand in the podcast will help me with the coaching. But trying to do them simultaneously when it was just getting off the ground, it's like that wasn't smart. And then I followed it up with going to the conference that same weekend and then going to the real estate thing. But
Got
I said all that to say, like, I think 2 weeks ago or last month, I finally I rewrote my IG statement and I just said, for what I do, I'm the communicator, whether I'm in engineering or podcasting, I'm communicating,
you.
and I highlight everyday people. And I was like, that's straightforward and to the point. It's not complicated. It's not like manufactured, and it makes sense. And
Hmm.
I was happy for myself with that. And I was like, it wasn't a waste because I guess sometimes you get so caught up, you see people doing things, especially with social media, you see people posting, and a lot of times like somebody might be better at their presentation, that I get caught up thinking, oh, because they put up something that looks so nice, everything else in the background must be sweet. And that's not always the case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
So how was the year for you leaving that um leaving
2020.
Miami? Yeah.
Yeah. So 2020. Honestly, business wise, was the best year I had ever had. Was my second full year in business as an entrepreneur.
Mm,
Uh, Made over six figures for the first time in my life.
nice.
When I worked a regular job, I didn't make. I thought I was making good money until I started making money on my own. So, 2020 was amazing. Made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot of things, um, removed myself from situations that didn't fit me anymore, and then
Mm,
align myself with better partnerships to grow both personally and on a business level. So 2020 was amazing. It was amazing. It started off, I don't want to say it didn't I don't want to say it started off rocky,
mm-hmm.
but it certainly ended, on a great note. And even in the midst of in the chaos of the pandemic, like, things never slowed down for me.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the year, I had to turn a lot of people away, and
Mm,
even at the beginning of the year now, like, I'm finally used to saying no, and I'm
gotcha.
okay with that. So
Right.
yeah, 2020 was great. Was great. It was great.
Awesome. So I guess what's one thing you gained from 2020? Because I know I guess as I'm doing this now in 2021, a lot of people are still recovering and reeling. And I guess to give people something to hope for, like for the everyday person, I'm thinking like obviously a lot has been lost, so I don't want to rehash that same thing. So I figured I'd switch it and say, what's something that you gained?
I think in 2020 is where I gained the most confidence in myself,
Mhm.
in my ability, and in my ability to do a couple things, and my ability to figure things out.
Mhm.
And I gained a lot of confidence in how do I want to put it? In just knowing and understanding that, like, I think sometimes people think that they're the reason why you are where you are.
Mhm.
And then when you break away from that,
Yeah.
you're like, nah, that was, you know what I mean? Like that
Right.
was cool. Don't get me wrong, but that you're not why I'm good at my craft. You're not why, people recognize me. So I think the most thing I gained in 2020 was for sure confidence.
Got you.
For sure confidence.
So you got out from their shadow, so to speak.
Yeah, from a lot of shadows.
Got
It
you.
wasn't just one. From a lot of shadows. So
Right.
yeah.
That's cool. It's I was on the prayer line for the first time in a while today, and I was like, wow, it's really taken form where I think they've transformed it or at least got it licensed as a 501c3, which is a nonprofit.
Mhm.
And just the structure of it, where when you jump on, you're acknowledged by the moderator, and he does a good job of just making the conversation flow back and forth. And one thing that he talked about today, or a couple of guys talked about, was the fact that um, they talked about acknowledging. It was Eddie Butler. He talked about acknowledging your gifts, like
Mhm.
acknowledging your talents and not getting so caught up on what other people are doing that you discount yourself. And he really talked about, in order to have a strong defense, you got to have a very solid offense. Like you got to have a good offense is like the counterpart to a great defense, so to speak. I guess not to get too technical into sports, but I guess that's one of the things I appreciate about sports, the analogies you can kind of pull from it.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I agree. I agree. Sports always has great analogies.
yeah. But I guess whenever you said like breaking away from those different shadows, it kind of made me think of that. And I was like, huh, that it's great, or it's fun to just be able to reflect and just be like, okay, I'm either on the same wavelength or like everything's kind of like even keel, and not to say like
Or I'm doing better.
right, right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you can use the example of, like, Tom Brady. For the longest, people thought it was Belichick's system, and that Tom
Mhm.
Brady just so happened to fall into the system, and that's why he was who he was.
Right.
He, like, don't get me wrong, the system is cool, but I'm still who I am without this system, and
Right.
we all just saw that during the Super Bowl. So
True. And
yeah.
it's funny, I didn't even watch the Super Bowl because like I finally um during, like, for me to tell you what I did during 2020, I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be initially, but I had little spurts of activity, so to speak. But towards the end of the year or the middle of the year, around the summer, I spent a lot of time online just spectating, watching like the football highlights and things like that. But by the end of the year, going into like December, January, starting this year, I finally decided to focus on the podcast, put some episodes out, or at least go back and try to grit my teeth and listen to some of them. Look at, okay, I'm not going to edit because I know that's not my strong suit, but I'm going to listen and grab a clip to share with someone that's going to help me put it together. But I said that to say, um, as the picture was shaping up, it was just interesting. Like I'd watch the highlights on YouTube just to be like, oh, okay, like that's a cool play. I like how they did this, they did that. And they're always speculating who's going to make the championships, this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
And then when it shook out that it was Tom Brady and the Chiefs from last year, the last champions, it was like, okay, it in hindsight, it's like it's not surprising, but just to say, oh yeah, he won, he always wins, is kind of like discounting the work that he does, his system, his mentality, his work, and all that work ethic. So it was great to see him or hear that he won, not in the sense that I'm a Tom Brady fan, but in the sense of like in speaking with yourself, being part of Breathe University, like over the years, just kind of understanding like that winner's mentality and seeing where greatness kind of comes from, and where when someone operates in their gift, when they operate in their talent, and they're sure about what they want, who they are, and how they go about it, it's like it's great to see that payoff and see it from that perspective, and not just be on the bandwagon of like, yay, you won, or oh man, not again, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
definitely. You'll always have that depending on, who the person is. It's, some people just don't like to see people win.
Sure.
So
Right, that
you'll always have those people that, say oh, but he had to leave and he had to do this and he had to do that. It doesn't matter. He still
right,
has to prepare. Same thing with LeBron. He still has to practice. He still
right,
has to train. So so yeah.
yeah. And I guess not to, I feel like, I mean, we're just having a conversation, but I guess um to kind of point the mirror back at me, I see it as like one of the things I tried to get away from was that the reason I stopped, like I intentionally stopped doing the preparation, I stopped doing the work when it came to like, okay, you're podcasting, okay, you're going to relocate, are you going to set up the systems in place you need to do this remotely, or hey, your phone doesn't work now, are you going to go look for another phone, are you going to do anything? And I was like, no, I'm not going to. And it's like maybe maybe a miracle would just happen. Or then I started looking at it like, no, I just don't want anything to happen. And I guess it's that self-sabotage mentality. So I'm not really asking you a question. I guess I'm just making like an observation on myself to see where I was and how I got here. Because as I listened through the episodes and even talking with yourself and the others, I keep learning more about myself, about what's working and what's not working. Because um, back to like episode 34 with Catherine, that was right around the time that I was getting ready to go to Flint, Michigan for the first time and do like the extreme execution. And it's like I had already signed up for the brand prep and all that. And as I'm listening back to it, I'm like, oh, this sounds like a train wreck is about to happen. Like you're literally seeing it, and not being able to slow down in that moment and acknowledge that, okay, you're doing good things, but they're not good for you to do right now.
Right.
And seeing that and acknowledging it, it's helping me to better plan this same time this year that I didn't want to do last year or that I stopped doing. So instead of overloading myself, I've stopped and I said, okay, I'm just going to do the podcast. I'm just going to do IG. If I post anywhere else, it's just a variation of this. But anytime I feel the urge to join a new program or to follow somebody or to just beg someone for advice that I don't really need because I'm already doing something, like that's starting to build my confidence on my end.
Gotcha.
So
That's
what?
normally what happens here. I was thinking, but go ahead.
No, I was just gonna so I guess what's the plan, or what's the goal for 2021 so far, or just say like this month?
This March,
Yeah,
February.
March, I guess. Yeah.
um, the main goal is I'm actually launching my own membership community, but it's strictly geared towards coaches, consultants, and service providers who struggle with using email marketing. Right. So
Hmm.
I've sold templates in the past, and don't
Okay.
get me wrong, people buy those up like that.
Right.
But one thing, so 2020 was also the first year where like I coach, like
Mhm.
full year, every single week. I coach a group of coaches, consultants, and service providers when it comes to like their messaging and their sales copy, as well as their email marketing stuff. Like
Right.
the 52 weeks. This is the first time I ever coach people every single week.
Oh wow.
On top of like doing one-on-one sessions in between.
Mhm.
Um, and I realized that, I could sell templates all day and probably make a whole lot of money. But because I care as a coach, what I
Right.
do know is that I know a couple things, and this is one of the reasons why I'll never do a course. People need accountability. People need context.
Mhm.
Most people who buy templates don't use them. They only buy them because they're normally so cheap that it's not enough money for them to feel like if I don't use it, I'm not going to feel bad about it.
Right.
Same thing with the course normally. Most people don't complete a course because it's just like if they get stuck or if they have a question and they don't have, if that particular course doesn't have the support or doesn't offer coaching calls, once somebody gets stuck, that's it. So my membership program is once again, coaches, consultants, and service providers who are struggling with email marketing, where I'm literally going to help you get consistent with it, help you with what to send in the subject line as well as in the body of the email, and
Mhm.
help you leverage the number one marketing channel so that you can increase sales, and convert more of your leads into paying clients.
Mhm.
So that's it's so crazy because when I started out doing what I do as a
Mhm.
copywriter and messaging expert,
Yeah.
my claim to fame, if you will, like I got popular from sending emails that made my clients money.
Mhm.
That's how I got popular. Like that's how people started, saying, "Hey, people didn't know what to call me, a writer, you whatever
Right.
they were saying." But that's where it came from. I still did that all 2020. It just wasn't in the forefront.
Mhm.
And in 2021, it's becoming, back in the forefront. I just recently took on Wall Street Trapper as a client.
Mhm.
Um, I've worked with David Shands for quite some time, and we're working in a different capacity now. But I did
Right.
his emails all 2020. I worked with ET for 5 years, doing all of his emails and stuff. But that's how I got to where I am using, doing emails and
Mhm.
helping people leverage that marketing channel. So that's what I'm going back to.
Right.
But it's going to be in a setting that I'm pretty excited about because I know myself and I know
Yeah.
I'm not just going to stick to emails.
Right.
If I have a community member who's in there and I see all of their messaging is off, then I'm gonna help them with that too. But it's
Mhm.
going to be very different from other membership programs because it's not going to be $27. It's not going to be $47. It's a premium price membership program, but
Mhm.
that's because of how much access and how much time like you're gonna get from me.
Right.
Like people are gonna get their weekly emails with like a full-on video on how to put them together, but it's still gonna be plug and play. It's
Mhm.
just gonna be customized plug and play.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's I'm actually, my assistant actually just texted me. I think technically the page is ready to go live. So if
Nice.
I don't announce it later today, it'll more than likely be tomorrow. So yeah.
Okay. So
This was supposed to be launched like 2 weeks ago, but technically
well, I
all that
mean,
good.
by the time anyone hears this, they'll be able to access it. So what's the page called?
So it's going to be workwithsierra.com/inbox money club. So that's the name of the
Mm,
community, inbox money club.
I
Anybody,
like that.
yeah, is looking to leverage that marketing channel. And
Gotcha.
I know it's definitely, I mean, there are a couple things out there like it,
Mhm.
but the difference is nobody is providing the amount of context,
Right.
as well as like, bonus trainings on just the whole how to use it all together. So yeah.
Right. That's really good. I feel like that's one of the things you were working on when I saw you at the conference, because we were both at the brand prep and then we went to the 1% conference,
Mhm.
and we were kind of on the side taking personal notes like, okay, these are the things we need to do with the coming months. And it's good to see that you you were doing the templates and things, and then you've been able to say, get feedback from the people you interacted with and kind of see, this is really where my attention needs to be, and this is what's going to have the bigger value, the bigger impact.
Mhm.
And then the value that you're providing them is also going to bring you not only, I guess, what would you say, emotional value, but I'm sure financial value, because having it at the premium price, it's going to make up for all the other courses you could, or all the other templates you could be creating or generating.
Yeah, and also one thing I learned about premium pricing, because I mean, we both have been around this internet market, this internet world for a minute, right? And everybody has their way of doing things. Everybody says, give value for free, start small and work your way up. But I've grown to realize this: people don't really do what they're supposed to do unless they have enough skin in the game, right?
Right.
And it's like it's the same with like hiring a trainer and working out at home. Most people who are not in shape know what they need to do to get in shape.
Mhm.
They hire a trainer because that money holds them accountable. And then if you hire a good trainer, you're probably paying a good amount of money, which
Mhm.
means no matter how you feel, you're gonna get out of bed and you're gonna go work out.
Right.
I think it's the same. And I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying just because someone pays a premium price, they're gonna follow through. But I
True.
think premium price products and services help you commit more. I really
Yeah.
do. I know me personally, the first time I paid, because I went from, so I was paying $47 and sleepless nights.
Mhm.
That was the first real entrepreneurship coaching program I joined.
Yeah.
The next program I joined cost me 10 grand. Like,
Mhm.
so I didn't even go from like here. I went
Right.
from 47 to 10 grand. And
It's a
I
big
saw
jump.
the difference. Like I saw the difference in the amount of commitment I had to myself. I saw the difference in the level of service.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I saw the difference in the level of quality of people.
Mhm.
Like, you're not people who pay $10,000 for something. I'm not saying they won't be in the room, but that room looks different when everybody has paid $10,000
Right.
versus the room where everybody's paying $27.
Right. Right.
It's the different, and that's what I'm trying to build. So I'm super committed to this thing, and I don't want to, what's the word? I don't want to jinx myself and say I
Mhm.
know out the gate I may not have that many members, but I'm looking for like quality members, people, and
Right.
not only that, email marketing is a long game play.
Right.
I
Right.
don't want people coming in for 27 and they gone next month and then they saying it's not working. Like, no,
Right.
if you pay this amount of money, that means you're committed. And
Right.
it's not even technically, it's not premium price.
Mhm.
It's just more than like the typical membership program, but it's
Right.
it's not nothing like crazy.
It's more than
I
what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's for what I'm doing. I think the closest thing that I've seen to what I'm doing is probably 97 a month, and I'm charging like double.
Gotcha.
But
Makes
I
sense.
mean, my track record speaks for itself. Like,
Right. Right.
so that's
Right.
another element to it. On top,
Right.
yeah. So
And
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
got you. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for introducing me to Mr. Donald, the voice, because
Oh
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
remember, I think we must have recorded a lot sooner, because I remember I was struggling with the edits, and like the first 5 episodes, I tried to edit them and it was not working out. I think I talked with Isaiah and he was trying to walk me through it, and I was like, I might be the analytical personality, but the thing that I'm learning about myself, or just in general, it's like no matter how you want to categorize people or break them down, it's like people aren't just like data on paper. People are people. Like everyone has their preferences, what they value, different things like that. And it's um you might be technical, but you're maybe technical when it comes to solving other people's problems.
Right.
Like for your own problems, it's like you might not want to get technical on that. You might want to just like do the bare minimum and then go from there. And just you introducing me to him has been a huge help, not just in like the production for the audio, and I think we just talked about going to video, but just having that confidence builder, because, or that encouragement, because in 2020 it really helped me out in putting out the content through the month of March, and then I just stopped communicating. And I think he'd reached out to me around the summertime and encouraged me, hey, you should put out at least what you recorded,
Yeah.
just to give the people that took the time to record with you their due and acknowledge them. And also like a similar thing, he's not charging me the premium price, but in him believing in what I do, he encouraged me to say, okay, hey, I'm willing to do this for you. Just ask that you commit, even if it's something small, you commit to something, because it's like that gives you skin in the game. And for me, committing to a couple months, I looked at it and I was like, we're doing something good. And even if I feel like, oh, I might not have it, I value it more and more. And I'm like, it's doing not only a disservice to me and the guests, but it's doing a disservice to um
The people who need it.
yeah, the people who need it, and not giving them the best of it. And it's like, okay, i'm not I'm not having to do that work. It's like I would only be asking him, like, and it was a simple conversation like, hey, is video something we could do to match the audio? And it's like, yeah. And in order to do that, here's what we would have to do with the price. And it was like, okay, that's manageable. And I was like, okay, well,
I actually need to hit down and up. My sister and I we've been doing a podcast on for a nonprofit that we're starting.
mhm,
But right now we just go live on Facebook and do it because that's where most of our audience is. But I
right,
actually do want to actually start recording. Like I have a Canon. Clearly, you see my
right. I was gonna ask you. I was like, what camera are
yeah,
you using there? But it's like it makes sense.
the same one that Dave has. But I need like an equipment list. Like I
Gotcha.
don't know what I need to. I'm confident in being able to set it up,
Hmm.
but I sure need an equipment list, and I need to hit Donald up. I haven't
Gotcha.
spoken to him in a while either, so yeah, that would be. Yeah, I help Donald because he does the voiceovers for the Secret to Success podcast now
Right,
too. I
right.
help him with that. 'Cause, yeah, I
I
gotta
feel
catch up.
he I think he's been pretty busy, and um don't want to I put his business out there, but one thing as we were talking, I was like, man, I was so happy to hear that. He's like, he's also getting an assistant, someone to help him, because it's like
Good,
as
good.
many podcasts as he's doing,
That's
I was
awesome.
like, I want to sit down at one point and just have a conversation with him, like, how are you able to um keep the main thing for yourself, like
It's
your
hard.
own life, as you're listening to like 20 plus
How,
different conversations weekly
how do
from
you? Yeah,
different people, and like you're processing what it is that they're saying, you're cutting out like the dead space, this, that, and the other. But then it's like you're not you're putting all your energy into that, but at the end of the day, you have a wife and a daughter at home, and you make sure that you give them the attention that they need. And then when it's time to shut things down, it's like, no, I've got this time with my family. And I think just being able to talk with him about that, I don't think we touched on it with you, but you also have kids, and I think at least you've done that to some regard, where it's like you've had to balance, like, okay, this is the time I'm putting into work, and this is the time I got to spend with my kids.
yeah. It's. I'm gonna say it's something that I still haven't quite mastered yet. I have two kids, 8 and 11.
Hmm.
Um, and then with virtual schooling, that made it a whole different dynamic.
Ooh.
Before, pre-pandemic,
Hmm.
I had a solid schedule. I'm waking up at 5 every day. I'm getting like simple things done between 5 and 6, waking them up at 6, dropping them off at school. And
Right.
then from 8 to 2:30, like I'm at a co-working space, coffee shop, or whatever, just like
Hmm.
working. But and my thing was, when I was done working at that time, when I got home, it was no more work unless I had to do like an interview or something in the evening. Virtual school kind of threw all of that out the window. I struggle with getting up early again because it's like I don't have to get up and go out the house. So now, instead of me getting up at 5, I'm getting up at like 7, and they don't have class until 9. So while I can still get some things done, it was still just weird. What I've learned is that there are going to be seasons in business where things are going to have to be ramped up a bit and then scaled back. So typically, I stopped working anywhere from between 2 and 3. Now this month, because I've been working on this project, the days have been longer, and they've been longer in particular because I still haven't been able to go back to getting up at 5. Now I'm like a strong 6:30, but I really want to get back to 5 o'clock. So it's tough. Now my kids are a little bit older, and I will say that may be an advantage that I have because they don't want as much as my time, but I also have to catch myself and take the initiative to say, hey, show me what you're doing on the game, or how was your day, and things like that. Like my 8-year-old loves Fortnite. Last night, like I went in their room and I just sat there and watched him play Fortnite for like 30 minutes, and he actually started asking my input, like, Mom, which world should I go to? One of my mentors kind of said something to me in the summertime. He like, your kids gonna get to an age where they're not gonna ask you to play with them anymore. So while they're in this stage, take that initiative. It's tough though, but it's all hard. It's all hard. None of this crap is easy. None of it. I posted something yesterday, talking about discipline and how I think talking about discipline and how that is still tough. It's still it never. I can honestly say, Asher, even after cracking my first 6 figures as an entrepreneur, if you're serious about like for real becoming the best version of you, it never gets easy. It's just like, what next? What next? Like what next? What next?
Right.
It's a for real journey. Unless you wake up one day and you say, all right, I'm done.
Right.
I go back to being normal.
Right. And it's funny you say that, because I guess what I was trying to explain about my 2020 earlier was that I was trying to go like the net 6-figure route, like going from 0 to 100. But as it got real and real and real and real, I said, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do that. But it's like, it's one thing to just walk away and say, like, okay, I'm not doing this hobby anymore, and then just quit everything, because it's like, you don't want to do that, because it's like, if you quit everything, then everything else is in jeopardy, like your relationships, your finance, like your home could be in jeopardy if you just said, I'm not going to work anymore, and you didn't invest or put anything away as like a nest egg. And one thing that you said about discipline, I think I really like the sleep is for suckers group, and I think I may have learned about it from you or from Alexis. And the thing that I like about it is like, now they're reading the same book that they were reading last year, I think around this time or earlier, The One Thing.
Oh yeah,
And
brother.
yeah, and that book, it's like, it's almost like it's having you unlearn things that you learned maybe the wrong way. And especially when it spoke to discipline, it made a good correlation between discipline and habit, where it's like people talk all the time like, you need to be disciplined, you need to be this. It's almost like you're always cracking the whip on yourself. And I guess I use that analogy purposefully, because it's like, maybe it's a different connotation for people, but it's like, when you think about how you treat yourself, you have to be both the worker as the entrepreneur. You have to be both the worker and the boss. And it's like, if you don't like how somebody else is going to treat you as a boss, like, you might want to treat yourself better, but you can't be so lax to where no work ever gets done.
Definitely.
And it's like, I guess sometimes it feels like with discipline, when people talk about it, it's like, it's very important, but too many people, I think, talk themselves out of it before they get started, because they're like, I've got to do this massive action, I've got to do this huge thing. And like what he talked about in the book was like, no, you actually want to do, in order, like the whole theme of the book is like, you have, if you do this one thing, whatever it is you decide to do, like you stick to it, it'll get you to where you need to go. And people have like, the Mustafa, I think, said it last year, he's like, the word priorities wasn't a thing until like maybe the 1980s or something like that. But like, priority is supposed to be singular, like you're just supposed to do one thing when you wake up in the morning. It's like, this has to get done before anything else, and once you get that done, everything else that you thought was important will also get done. And I guess I said all that to say, with the discipline piece, it's like if you think you're lazy or if you think you're not disciplined, trick yourself into doing or like it's like I think the first thing is like you have to change your language as to saying like I'm not disciplined or I'm not this. It's like okay, maybe you're just disciplined at one thing and you're not like say a Rochelle T. Parks. But
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, if you get up and you go walk, or if you get up and you drink your water when you're supposed to, it's like, hey, I'm good at doing this. And like that small discipline that you build is building a habit that becomes residual and then that becomes your second nature. And then also just giving yourself a break to be like, I've got to do this within the next 21 days or whatnot. It's like it really takes 66 plus days for you to develop that thing in order for it to work and create the domino effect. I just wanted to share that because I was like, the discipline thing keeps coming up over and over. And to your point with setting up the program that you set up, is it, did I say it right? Is it a program? It's not a course, right? It's a
No,
membership
it's a
program.
yeah, it's a membership it's a
Gotcha.
membership community.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I think I signed up for Donnie Wiggins, like her post to paid program.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out at first how it worked, where she'll send you a text and then it's like you have a prompt basically of like, here's what you need to post on IG, use this, fill in the blank. And like it was coming so frequently. And I was like, maybe I need to pause it because I don't want to get so caught up in doing stuff that I lose sight of like the value I'm trying to create, the quality of what I'm trying to create. And as I looked at it, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not seeing the directions with the messaging. Like I'm not seeing the context necessarily, but I'll just take what I have, what she's giving me, and I'll apply myself in it. So
Right.
I'm not necessarily selling a course. I'm not coaching anyone. I'm podcasting. So instead of
Mhm.
saying like, oh, I need to go manufacture a course out of the blue, it's like, no, let me use parts of my life or use parts of the podcast and actually like explain it in that same way. So I think yesterday she posted something about, or she shared with us something about discipline and how is it that you use this in your life. So I took it and I flipped it, applying the principle that I learned from the one thing, and I said, discipline isn't all it's cracked up to be. Like it's
No, it's
kind of
not.
a lie. And it's like at least that way I figured unknowingly I'm getting somebody's attention, and it's like, well, here's what I mean. I'm not just trying to sell you what do they call it? Snake oil.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to I'm expressing myself and I'm explaining myself using this format. And the response on it was pretty good. Like I didn't sit there and like watch the numbers or whatnot, but it's like people seem to take to it well. And I was like, okay, that works. Like keep doing that. You don't have to every single thing, if it's one or three posts, you don't have to make every single one because it's like I'm already, to your advice again, I did the better approach of just saying, okay, I've got the IGTV clip that I can use to promote, as well as like the podcast art
Mm-hmm.
that I can use, whether it's something funny or like a picture that puts the person in a good light and doesn't have them not looking in the best light, then I can use that and just promote it 1 to 3 times throughout the week, and then maybe do something different and just try it out. Like something will work out, and just like you introduced me to Donald along the way as I was recording, then that just helped get me from like one step to the other. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's relationships are important along this journey. One thing that I've learned is that sometimes relationships will expire. It doesn't mean there's any bad blood, doesn't mean that those people aren't great or good at what they do. It's just that sometimes they, especially in business, it's just like it happens. It is
Right.
what it is. It doesn't mean you aren't good at what you do. It doesn't mean you aren't worth whatever it is you want to charge. It just means that it either isn't a good fit or it's no longer a good fit. And one thing, I mean, because you're certified. So with me being a high I, is I had to get comfortable with that and not, internalize a lot of that stuff, which I feel like I do a really great job of doing now. But it's all a part of the journey. Like
Yeah.
it really is. And it's never gonna stop. Like it's never gonna stop.
Right. And I guess that's one of the things. It's like sometimes when I think about what you said, it's never going to stop. At times it feels like if you're not in a stable place, or if you're not in a place where you want to be or where you feel comfortable, it feels like almost like a life sentence, where it's like, man, this things are terrible now, they're always going to be terrible. And it's like, that's not the right way to look at it. It's like whenever challenges come up, like it's an opportunity for you to be able to grow, but it's like you really have to be mindful of like what you're putting into your mind, what you're telling yourself, who you're surrounding yourself with, especially like, not to go too much into it, but it's like the news is always the news. Like it's rarely positive. Last year was an election year, and
And
of course, and a pandemic, right? And it's like other things transpired with like George Floyd and that, and it's like, I think the thing that made it huh?
It was a lot.
Yeah, I think the thing that made it so much worse was that it started out as an election year, then the pandemic went into it, and then that event happened. So it's like you had the shutdown, people couldn't go anywhere. Of course, social media is there. It's like a lot more people are on it. And then the response, it's like, for some people, it was like, oh, wow, where did this come from? But then for other people, it's like, no, this has been brewing for a while, and it's not an isolated incident. It's just something that happens.
We have camera phones,
right?
That's,
And
you know
it's,
what I mean?
yeah. And I mean, I don't want to just brush past it, but at the same time, I don't want to dwell on it, because I know a lot of time and a lot of energy has been placed on it. But I guess I said that to say, there are people that focused on the different happenings, and they started to focus a lot more of what was happening outside of themselves, outside of their homes, outside of their lives. It's like, obviously, with things shutting down, it affected people's businesses, it affected people's finances. But in a lot of cases, it's like, for your job to get shut off for a random pandemic just to come up out of the blue, you can't necessarily plan for those things. But if you're putting yourself together, if you're organizing your life, if you're doing your best to improve yourself, you're in a better position to respond. Like a lot of people like yourself that educated themselves on the internet, on things with email marketing and things of that sort, their businesses soared. A lot of people that worked in construction. I was talking with a buddy of mine um, that I met back in Augusta, Georgia, and he's a John Maxwell certified speaker. But so like the speaking industry shut down. Like ET had like the whole lineup is supposed to be basically his retirement year, I think, for 2020. And it's like all that basically got shut down. But I found out for the first time that my buddy Wayne, he's a welder and a pipe fitter, and a lot of construction work needed to happen. So it's like that industry went up. And it was just like, for him having those two skills, he was able to lean on one more heavily just to do the physical labor. But in interacting with the people that he interacts with, he pulled on the communication skills, and he was able to communicate with other people in instance where it's like you have different people have their take on the protocols and the stuff with wearing the mask and all that stuff. But it's like um one illustration that he used to show the guy that, okay, I'm not going to be bothered by what's going on by my environment. Like the guy, I think they were sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden he just started like hooping and hollering, just like getting erratic or whatnot. And then he stops for a moment and he asks his friend, what changed?
Right.
He's like, nothing. So he's like, so what is all that getting upset at the situation going to do for you? It's like, not saying that getting upset isn't valid, but if that's all you're going to do, what is it really going to do for you at the end of the day? Like, is that going to make a difference, or are you strategizing, planning, writing down, here's what I want, here are the things that, here's what's bothering me, like write it down on a piece of paper, and then, which is kind of what I've had to do through counseling, through going through the exercises, even from the morning meetup, whether it's like you're going through the behavioral science stuff with the disc, or you're looking at your business, looking at the podcast and saying, okay, what's working, what's not working, what can I do about it, who can I contact? Hey, maybe I can reach out to the previous guest, Cierra. How's it going? You got anything going on? And it's like, oh yeah, we can meet up. And then I was sitting there when I woke up this morning. I started working the night shift here locally, and it's kind of, it took me a minute to get adjusted, and then I was like, oh crap, today's Wednesday. Oh man. I was like, okay, calm down. Like, you're here, you got back from work, get some rest, get a couple of hours in. And then when I woke up, I was like, okay, it's daytime. Okay, it's 11. I have this much time till the podcast. Let me clean up my area. Let me do like the one thing that I need to do. The main thing I understood that I needed to do today was to be able to talk to you. And aside from trying to run to the grocery store 30 minutes before, which I won't do that again. But aside from that, I had in mind, I know where I'm at. I know what day it is. I know what time it is. And this is my focus. Like, the other things will get done, but so long as I maintain this appointment, I'll get done what I set out to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I totally agree. I don't have anything to add to that.
Well, I mean, I guess we don't really have to, but you probably have to run to the next one, huh?
The next what?
Your next meeting?
Yeah, I do. Gotcha. Fortunately.
No problem.
But I'm really supposed to be doing a IG live here in 5 minutes. I
gotcha.
told myself I was going to go live today.
Hey,
so even though
I'll keep you accountable.
I hate it.
I'll just shout out, be like, hey, check out Cierra Seay on her IG live right now. But I appreciate you doing this, and it's really good catching up with you. Hopefully we'll do this a few more times and won't let a year go past, or even if we don't have to do a podcast, we just catch up and just see, I guess, what is it, make business like continue to grow as people, continue to grow as businesses, because in America, if you don't have a business, whether you're working a 9-to-5 or anything, like, you're missing out. You don't need to devote your whole self into it, but you need to create something that you can be proud of.
Definitely. And create something that you can actually control. And like you said, nobody's saying, go quit your job tomorrow, but
right,
you have to have some level of control over your destiny at this point. You have to.
Thank you.
All righty. Have a good one.
You too.
This is the It's My Time podcast with Asher Tchoua.